What's up everyone, and welcome back to the MMA Buzz. Charles Oliveira is heading into one of the biggest opportunities of his career as he prepares to face Max Holloway for the BMF title at UFC 326. Following the announcement of the matchup, Oliveira shared strong confidence about what a victory could mean for his future, specifically a return to the lightweight title picture. Speaking on the AG Fights YouTube channel, Oliveira opened up about the current landscape of the division and made it clear that a dominant performance over Holloway should earn him the next title shot. He explained that, in the UFC, name value and star power play a major role, and he believes he brings more of both than many of the top contenders. According to Oliveira, his popularity surpasses that of fighters like Paddy Pimblett, Justin Gaethje, and Arman Tsarukyan, and winning the BMF title would only strengthen his position. Oliveira pointed out that the UFC is a business where fighters must understand how the game works or risk being overlooked. He acknowledged that Dustin Poirier is taking time away from the sport, which has opened the door for an interim title fight in January. Just 2 months later, Oliveira believes his BMF fight places him directly in the spotlight, and a big, exciting win will force the UFC to consider him next in line. He also expressed respect for Arman Tsarukyan, calling him the fighter who deserved a title shot, either interim or undisputed, but questioned why the UFC didn't put him there. Still, Oliveira emphasized that his marketability is greater than Tsarukyan, and that the UFC will naturally gravitate toward bigger attractions. Oliveira remains focused on delivering an elite performance, confident that a strong victory will burst the bubble and push him back into the title conversation. However, if Oliveira does jump the line, it could push Tsarukyan further down the ladder, raising questions about whether Arman may eventually need to switch weight classes to get his shot. What do you think? Can a major win over Max Holloway at UFC 326 rightfully earn Charles Oliveira another chance at lightweight gold? Before we jump into the next story, we have a small favor to ask. If you're enjoying the content, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon. It really helps us out and ensures you'll never miss an update. Move on to another news. Joe Rogan recently weighed in on the heated moment between Khamzat-Garry and Yan, an altercation that quickly made headlines across the MMA community. The incident took place during UFC Qatar, where cameras captured Yan approaching Khamzat with what appeared to be a slightly aggressive, confrontational tone. Chimaev responded by pushing Garry away, and from there, both fighters publicly shared the perspectives. Yan criticized Khamzat, calling him a disgrace and implying that Khamzat's reaction was unprofessional. On the other hand, Chimaev brushed off the situation during an ESPN interview, joking that Garry was simply trying to gain fame by attaching himself to a bigger star. Khamzat mocked the moment in typical fashion, saying Yan tastes like cappuccino and that fighting him alongside Alex Pereira would be so sweet, emphasizing that Garry's attempt to get attention wouldn't bother him. Joe Rogan addressed the situation during a podcast episode with Brendan Allen. Rogan explained that the viral clip lacked context and that a different camera angle showed Garry slapping Khamzat on the back rather forcefully before the push occurred. That added angle made the exchange look far more intentional than the original footage suggested. Rogan described Garry's behavior as strange and odd mix of passive aggression and an attempt to big brother Khamzat, acting overly familiar in a way that seemed to provoke a reaction. Rogan pointed out that while the public clip made it appear as though Khamzat reacted aggressively for no reason, the alternate angle revealed that the push was a direct response to Garry's unexpected slap. Brendan Allen agreed, calling the interaction weirdly aggressive and noting that Garry didn't simply pat him, it looked like he grabbed onto Khamzat's clothing and gave him a small shove, something that could easily be taken the wrong way in a tense environment. Both Rogan and Allen emphasized that while fighters may not always like each other's personalities or actions, as long as the behavior doesn't cross personal boundaries, it tends to be brushed off. In this case, however, the interaction seemed intentionally provocative, and the reaction from Khamzat wasn't as unprompted as many assumed. Move on to another news. Curtis Blaydes has stepped forward to defend Tom Aspinall amid the growing backlash surrounding the controversial eye poke incident with Cyril Gane, with many fans criticizing Aspinall and claiming he exaggerated the severity of the poke to avoid continuing. Blaydes strongly disagreed with that narrative during a recent appearance on The James Lynch Show. According to Blaydes, the criticism toward Aspinall is unfair, and people are overlooking the reality of the situation. He emphasized that the eye poke from Gane was not minor, it was deep, damaging, and clearly serious enough to compromise Aspinall's ability to continue safely. Blaydes explained that every fighter in the UFC is a lion, and lions are not afraid of one another. To assume Aspinall quit out of fear is simply disrespectful to the mentality and toughness required to compete at the highest level. Blaydes stated that if Aspinall said he couldn't continue due to his vision being compromised, then fans should respect that decision. Fighting with impaired eyesight is not only dangerous but could lead to a fighter being knocked out solely because he cannot see incoming strikes. Blaydes pointed out that Aspinall needed time and protection, not unnecessary anger from fans who underestimate the severity of an eye injury. He went on to express confusion about why people are directing hate toward Aspinall when the incident clearly stemmed from Gaines' repeated attempts at hand fighting, which ultimately led to both of Aspinall's eyes being affected. Blaydes reiterated that no UFC fighter is scared wins and losses happen, but fear is not part of the equation for competitors at this level. Aspinall, Blaydes argued, simply made the smart and responsible choice not to fight with compromised vision. Rather than accusing him of looking for a way out, critics should acknowledge that protecting his long-term health was the right move. Do you agree with Curtis Blaydes? Is the hate toward Tom Aspinall unnecessary, and should more blame be placed on Gain for creating the dangerous situation? Share your thoughts below. Move on to another news. Joshua Van recently spoke about Alexander Pantoja's shocking arm injury at UFC 323, an incident that stunned the MMA world and immediately sparked debates about whether the former champion deserves an instant rematch. Many fans believe the unusual injury, which happened early in the first round, warrants another shot. Van, during an appearance on the Ariel Helwani show, agreed that Pantoja absolutely deserves an immediate rematch provided he can recover in time. If not, Van made it clear he will face whoever the UFC decides is next in line. Van also openly addressed the moment the injury occurred, taking responsibility for the sequence that led to the break. He said he understands some people may not like hearing it, but catching Pantoja's kick was what caused the damage. In his view, that's simply part of fighting, and he expressed deep respect for Pantoja for owning the situation and staying accountable. Van emphasized that Pantoja is a great champion and noted that his professionalism is exactly why he believes a rematch is deserved. Looking ahead, Van revealed his intention to stay highly active as champion, aiming for 3 or 4 fights next year. He said that remaining active keeps him sharp, and that fighting frequently is something he thrives on. Later in the show, Dr. Brand Sutter offered insight into Pantoja's injury. While he did not have specific medical details, he explained that if the elbow was dislocated without a significant fracture, surgery may not be necessary. Most elbow dislocations, he said, do not require surgical intervention unless a major fracture is involved. However, even a clean dislocation typically involves some degree of soft tissue tearing, which can prolong recovery. If the joint structures are stable and the bones are intact, the elbow can often heal well on its own. But if a fracture is present, the injury becomes far more complicated and the likelihood of surgery increases. Ultimately, the exact nature of Pantoja's injury, fracture or no fracture, will determine his recovery timeline and whether an immediate rematch is possible. Fans now await further medical updates to see when the former champion might return to the octagon. Move on to another news. Merab has fired back at Petr Yan after the former champion made comment in a recent interview that stirred up fresh tension between the two rivals. Late last night, Yan revealed that he does not control his own social media account and claimed that many of the tweets directed at Merab were written by his manager. Yan said, "He's probably talking to my manager. No, we won't be friends." Those remarks immediately triggered a heated response from Merab, who took to Twitter to call Yan out. Merab told fans to pay close attention to what Yan was now admitting. He accused Yan of being dishonest, pointing out that Yan had previously sent tweets wishing him a speedy recovery and calling him a friend. Messages Yan now says he never personally wrote. Merab criticized how quickly Yan's tone changed, saying he believed Yan had been humbled after their fight in 2023. According to Merab, any respect he once offered Yan is now gone, calling him a liar and declaring, "Game on." Merab didn't stop there. He also criticized the character of Yan's associates, accusing them of being fake friends. He called out Anatoly Malakian, claiming Malakian once bet him $50,000 and never paid. Merab then brought up another individual he referred to as Mr. St. Patrick, stating that the person insulted a friend's mother and refused to face Merab directly after Merab slapped him. Instead, Merab said he was dragged into paying fines and going to court because of the altercation. Merab mocked Yan for surrounding himself with people he believes lack integrity, sarcastically telling Yan he has some good friends there. With accusations, insults, and old grievances resurfacing, it's clear the feud between Merab and Yan is far from over. Merab appears determined to reignite the rivalry, and fans may see this tension escalate even further. Whether this leads to a rematch or continues as a war of words, the situation is rapidly heating up and will be closely watched in the MMA world. Move on to another news. Shavkat Rakhmonov has officially responded to Buckley's ongoing call-outs, escalating a rivalry that has been building rapidly online. Buckley has been vocal for weeks, insisting that a fight with Rakhmonov is the fastest path to a title shot. According to Buckley, defeating an undefeated contender like Shavkat would make his case undeniable. Buckley took to Instagram with a bold message telling Rakhmonov to stop hiding in Uzbekistan, and claiming that Shavkat has never faced an opponent with his speed, pressure, or power. He accused Rakhmonov of relying on hype and said he intends to destroy that image. Buckley emphasized that a fight against him would expose every weakness in Shavkat's game, his hesitation, his limits, and the holes in his style. He ended the call-out by stating that Rakhmonov's team avoids mentioning his name because they know the matchup is dangerous. Buckley continued by referencing comments from coach Henry Hooft, who once said that none of the fighters in the division should want to face Buckley. He claimed Rakhmonov has no excuses left, no contender talk, no excuses, just sign the contract. Rakhmonov eventually saw the post and fired back in the comments with a short but sharp response: "Black boy, you get beat up." The comment immediately fueled controversy and signaled that Shavkat was no longer ignoring Buckley's challenge. Buckley responded right away, telling Rakhmonov, "Nah, say what you really want to say." Little, making it clear that he was ready to escalate the back and forth further. The exchange highlights the growing animosity between the two welterweights. Buckley appears determined to fast-track his way into title contention by taking out one of the most feared and undefeated fighters in the division. Meanwhile, Rakhmonov's response suggests he may be willing to entertain the matchup rather than dismiss Buckley's challenge outright. If the UFC decides to book this fight, it could become one of the most electric welterweight matchups on the upcoming schedule. With Buckley's explosive power and Shavkat's dominant finishing ability, fans are already debating who would come out on top. Let us know who you think would win if this fight becomes a reality. Move on to another news. Alexander Volkanovski has officially shut down all retirement rumors ahead of his upcoming UFC 325 showdown against Diego Lopes, despite widespread speculation about whether this could be his final appearance inside the octagon. The former featherweight champion made it clear that retirement is nowhere near his plans. Volkanovski emphasized that he is focused, motivated, and eager to stay active immediately after this fight. Addressing the media, Volkanovski stated that nothing about UFC 325 has been planned as a farewell performance. He explained that fans should not expect any retirement talk because he intends to deliver a clean, dominant performance and walk out unscathed, ready for a fast turnaround. Volkanovski added that he wants to put on an impressive display in Sydney, make a strong statement, and keep his momentum going. He also mentioned several contenders he wants to face next, highlighting undefeated talents like Movsar Evloev and Lerone Murphy. According to Volkanovski, adding fighters like these to his resume would further strengthen his legacy and prove that he still belongs at the top of the division. He expressed genuine interest in returning quickly after UFC 325, noting that fresh challenges excite him and that he still has plenty left to accomplish. Volkanovski reiterated that there is absolutely no plan, intention, or even consideration of retirement at this point. His focus remains on performing at his highest level, defending his legacy, and taking on the new wave of contenders who believe they can dethrone him. For now, he is fully locked in on delivering a statement victory against Diego Lopes, put on a show for the fans in Sydney, and continuing his journey inside the octagon. Move on to another news. A UFC matchup has once again fallen apart at the last minute, causing frustration among fans and fighters alike. Malik Bagdasaryan has withdrawn from his scheduled fight against Joanderson Brito at UFC Vegas 112, and as of now, the promotion has not released any official reason for his withdrawal. What makes the situation more complicated is that this isn't the first time these two athletes were set to meet. The pair were originally matched up back in 2022, and Bagdasaryan also pulled out of that bout, leaving many to question whether this matchup is simply cursed. Despite the setback, the UFC acted quickly and secured a replacement to keep Brito on the card. Rising Australian prospect Isaac Thompson has stepped in on short notice and will now face Brito this weekend. Thompson, only 23 years old, was recently signed to the UFC and is considered one of Australia's brightest young talents. His willingness to step up immediately has earned him praise from fans who admire fighters ready to seize an opportunity. Reactions to the new matchup have been mixed across the MMA community. Some fans expressed concern for Thompson, noting the difficulty of accepting a fight like this with minimal preparation. Others see it as a huge opportunity for the newcomer to make a strong first impression on the global stage. One fan wrote, "Ah nah, this poor guy, he genuinely might get hurt in this fight," while another noted the opposite sentiment, saying, "Isaac Thompson is legit, and this is the kind of moment where future stars are made." Joanderson Brito, now 30 years old and holding a 3-2 UFC record, enters this fight after suffering back-to-back losses. With his career momentum on the line, he will be fighting with urgency, while Thompson stepped into the octagon seeking to prove that age and experience don't always determine the outcome. As fight night approaches, all eyes will be on this unexpected matchup to see whether the seasoned veteran can break his losing streak or whether a hungry new prospect can shock the division. Who do you think comes out on top? Share your predictions in the comments.